Lying down, listening to lo-fi music, as if the television set was some warmth of fire, of things brought together. Occasionally, I get to this space of lying and listening with some real energy behind my motionlessness. I'm not really sleeping, but to a degree, I do feel like I am dreaming. Sometimes something stirs and I am brought back to where I am. If by mere sound, the effects, perhaps gazing into a fire, are had. I begin thinking about fire and wondering what it is. What am I if I don't have a unique thought on fire? If I am to get to the idea of anything true about knowledge to be had about anything, I think in my delusional state, that fire is the act of breaking things apart, things though that are whole. I think about the idea of control, and if there is any sense of it, then does that mean that there are immutable realms and mutable realms, so that there are things that are a part of a process and things that enter into these realms, so they have then the idea of true control coming then oddly from a place of unchanging nature, perhaps a well of souls. Then I wonder how further are its divisions for the idea that something has control, and therefore a soul, with the idea of there being these immutable realms with only one soul. Then I think this is an advanced thought, and I am stirred into recording it like the memories of a dream, but my dream was thinking. Then I thought that upon its revelation comes its balances, and that this being like a fire stirred things to be to the degree of being whole, the ultimate idea of whole, but as the soul. What good am I as a thinker if I cannot have my own thoughts on fire? Am I to rely on what everyone else has said about fire? Then am I really getting to where creativity has an edge, which might just be getting closer to the fire? Then are there states of the fire, like a block, like nature, like the sun? At each point, it is a subtle scale from many to one, as the scale itself is a scale, where at any point we can feel fire if we attempt to break things apart, again only recognized as control and knowledge if we have something whole. Again, why question fire? What it is, what everyone else notices, and its spirit and stories. Three states, always three states, another state as vastly different as another person, but lifeless, called a deceased human remains. Am I dead if I cannot make a fire? If I cannot make a new kind of fire? If I cannot cast my soul into the fire? All of these people thinking for the betterment of their soul. I am not lying idly by the fire. I am dreaming at the heart, trying to change my soul or prove that I have one. The closer I get to either one of these goals, the closer I get to the fire. All I need to do is to catch a light, to be consumed by the fire, to know I am whole, I am true. These are some things. They're about the future. There are some things there about the future. There are some things there about the past. The moment that got me intrigued to prove myself with just how personal things can be, but to make sure that it's just personal. The fire is testing me. Do personal tests count as tests though? There is nothing out of control, nothing to prove, nothing to show. And if my fire gives off no light, can I truly call it fire? If I cannot think of ingenious things with everything, then am I wholly genius? Perhaps thinking about fire in my own way will give me more solidity with everything, if it is truly the most primordial advancement, with a thought of control, while being this. It is such an elemental thing that I can investigate ideas of eternity, where connection to the ideas of sharing are broken, when I can ask, is anything separate? To say perhaps fire is the idea of separate things. What makes one thing one? By way of purification through fire, as its spirit is a soul in a pool of water, work and scale in the idea of nature, and time in the light of the sun. Maybe my test here was to see if I could find myself in fire, to see if I was hot enough to burn, to see if I really am capable of immortality with the thing in my dreams. While I may not look like work or feel like the passing of time, while it may not look like work or feel like the passing of time, I have used it to create further space between myself and others, to show I have more soul. The best part is the deeper I go, the less I have to prove, just as my words become the pacing of my otherworldly heart. There is a scale made as I have courage to see the conflict on paper, in black and white as day and night. Surely anyone who is great only gets there out of their own merit. Where is there anyone great who does not find out for themselves? Is there anyone great who cannot temper emotion and reason? The fire gives off its light, which is now whole. It is light from the soul. It is a question, though still. It is a question, though still. It is a question, though still. Is fire like this to everyone? Were the first soul's thoughts relevant, or were they truly distant? If I could say I was one of the first, then what's fire at its worst? But delusion that I don't come from the same place as all of you. I am different, better. I am unexplainable, only understood by myself. I affect everything and nothing affects me. Then to be first, what kind of first? If I am to come to now, to say that all time is mine, what else is there to prove but fire? That I can break things, even laws, that are seen as universally, that I am fire. So if you see a spark in me, do you really want to prove it? Fire made in such moments as this exists solely as a best use case scenario for space, taken back to the block. If it is enjoyed by anyone like a sun, it must be shareable for them to everyone, whether you agree totally or not. You'd have to agree that was a thought. You'd have to agree that I have an encompassing way with words on a far off distant innumerable level. You'd have to agree that any adherence to any of these words, whether or not they were true, I would be a trying individual. What is smart but out of your control? Accept me or go. That's soul. You'd have to agree that there are some questions greater than others. You'd have to be able to agree that one of the greatest questions is emotion true? Before I leave the fire, I know I have been told that things eventually grow cold, that preparation is important, then that mindfulness matters. I have contained this within this novel and perhaps in digital space. Anything else is in my place? Though then perhaps it is the fire, which itself is the idea of competition through work or acts of courage and temperance. What, though, can I apply now to those? Work is work, but feats of amazement is like some jerk, like the newest block never burning because it is not quite whole, but it is burning a hole in you, though trying to figure out its pattern so it can be under your control. Do not burn, become a light. Try to make it about the first fire, the first light, or the most well-known fire. Those two compete as the idea of fire. Perhaps that's the best competition to tell my fire to compete in. Compete to be the first fire. Then it would be naturally be lit and burn. Confidence is the best fake jerk. Then I could say, if anyone questions me as to why I was questioning the fire, because I really felt like I was fire, without question. If they want to question further, it would have to be in their own time, in a sense of question, this amount of words after the fact, where all the paper is like fire all over again, then maybe they should really question what would have happened if I wouldn't have gotten up to write this, or my story in general, which would now only serve to further the ideas in the story, making part of it questionable, but that perhaps the only truth is that it contains some emotion. Then have I not proven that emotion has reason in some capacity? That I have emotion, that I have temperance, that I have reason? Maybe all I am doing is attempting to temper emotion and reason. Maybe there are a lot of things that I don't know. I knew I could do this, though, without question. What is this, a general question about things that lack emotion? Maybe I cannot prove that there is some ultimate trick. I do not know if real magic exists. Maybe I have to rely on some people and some things, some ancient and modern words. I just knew that if things were really going to get out of my control, with technology, relationships, money, the world, I was going to create the world's biggest shortcut possible, and risking it all by getting my hand close to the fire.